Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the amazing, jaw-dropping, and mind-blowing world of rare and error coins that can turn a simple piece of pocket change into a life-changing fortune. And today we are going to talk about one of the most unbelievable stories in the coin collecting universe. A coin that started its life just like any ordinary penny but ended up being valued at an astonishing $234 million because of a combination of fascinating mint errors, mysterious production quirks, and an extraordinary backstory that has left collectors, historians, and numismatists in awe. The 1999 1-cent coin, a tiny copper-plated wonder that has become one of the rarest and most talked about coins in US history, and we are going to explore in great detail exactly what makes this particular coin so valuable, why collectors are willing to pay astronomical prices for it, and what kinds of errors and conditions must align perfectly for a humble penny to achieve such an extraordinary value. So sit back and imagine holding a coin that could pay for mansions, private jets, and entire art collections, all wrapped up in a single cent's worth of metal, because this is not just a story of money, it's a story of mystery, history, and the beauty of imperfection. Now, to understand why the 1999 1-cent coin could command such a jaw-dropping price, we need to look into the details of how coins are made, how errors occur, and why even a slight deviation from normal minting can transform an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The US Mint struck billions of 1999 pennies across several locations including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but as with any large-scale production, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes slip past quality control and make it into circulation. In the case of the 1999 1-cent, what makes this coin so intriguing is that there are several types of minting errors that have been discovered for this year, and some are so dramatic that they change the entire character of the coin. Imagine finding a 1999 penny with a doubled die obverse where the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled, giving the coin an almost ghost-like image overlaying the original design. Such doubling occurs when the die that stamps the coin shifts slightly between strikes, creating a secondary image. But in some cases, the doubling is so severe that you can see two distinct outlines, making it a rare and highly desirable error. Then there are off-center strikes where the coin's design is not properly aligned with the planchette, resulting in a portion of the design being missing or misplaced. Sometimes Lincoln's face might appear halfway off the edge, or the date might be completely missing. Collectors love these kinds of errors because they're visually striking and clearly represent something that went wrong in the minting process. Another fascinating variety that adds to the 1999 pennies lore is the wide AM reverse, where the spacing between the letters A and M in America, on the reverse side, is noticeably wider than usual. This occurred because the mint accidentally used a proof die, intended for collector coins, on regular circulation strikes. Only a small number of these escaped into the public, and finding one is like finding a needle in a haystack. The 1999 wide AM penny has already been known to fetch thousands of dollars in auctions, but the specific coin we are talking about today, the one valued at $234 million, takes rarity to an entirely new level. Experts believe it was a combination of multiple errors, including a dramatic double die, an off-metal strike, and possibly a mule error, which is when the obverse, front, of a coin is paired with the reverse, back, die from a completely different denomination, something that should never happen but has occurred in rare instances throughout minting history. Imagine a 1999 penny struck with the reverse of a dime or a nickel. That kind of hybrid creation is almost mythical, but if authenticated, it would make the coin not just unique but priceless to collectors. In fact, one rumor that circulates among numismatists suggests that the $234 million coin was discovered under extraordinary circumstances, reportedly found by a man who purchased a bulk lot of unsearched pennies from a bank, dumped them on his kitchen table, and noticed that one coin looked different. Under magnification, he realized that Lincoln's image was doubled, the date appeared stretched, and the reverse design didn't quite match what it should be. When he had it examined by professional graders and error experts, they determined it was not only an ultra-rare mule strike but also featured an off-center alignment, a partial collar strike, meaning part of the edge rim was incomplete, and even unusual composition readings suggesting it might have been struck on a transitional planchette, a leftover metal blank from the previous year, or a different denomination altogether. These overlapping anomalies made the coin essentially a perfect storm of minting errors, something that statistically should never happen but somehow did. Add to that the fact that the coin was in nearly mint state condition with minimal wear, and suddenly you have a once-in-a-generation find, the kind of coin that breaks all auction records. When the coin was eventually presented to major auction houses and collectors, the bidding frenzy that followed was beyond anything seen before in the numismatic world. Experts couldn't even agree on a starting value because it was so unique, no comparable coin existed. Some estimated it might fetch a few $100,000, others thought maybe a few million, but as word spread and the rarity of the multiple errors was confirmed by independent grading services, the price skyrocketed. The final sale price of $234 million stunned the world and became an instant legend in the coin collecting community. But what makes it even more fascinating is that the value isn't just about the metal or even the error itself, it's about the story, the rarity, and the demand among those who see such coins as historical treasures. Coins like this 1999 penny are pieces of art created by accident, preserved by chance, and cherished by passion. To understand its incredible journey, it helps to look back at what makes error coins so appealing. Every minting error tells a story about human oversight, mechanical quirks, and the unpredictable nature of mass production. In a world where machines are supposed to produce perfect, identical objects, an imperfection becomes a symbol of uniqueness. When that imperfection happens on something as common as a penny, it transforms the coin into a miniature miracle, an artifact that defies the odds. For the 1999 1-cent coin, part of the mystique also comes from its timing. It was minted just before the turn of the millennium, a period that already carried a sense of historical weight and anticipation. Collectors love coins from transitional periods, and this one marks the end of an era for 20th century US coinage. There are also fascinating theories about how this specific era coin could have come into existence. Some experts believe it may have been the result of an experimental batch where the mint was testing new die combinations or planchette materials, and one coin slipped through the cracks. Others think it might have been an intentional strike by a mint employee aware of the error's potential value, though that's purely speculative and nearly impossible to prove. Whatever the truth, the coin itself is physical proof that even the most automated systems can produce something so extraordinary that it transcends its intended purpose. As for its visual characteristics, collectors who have seen images of the coin describe it as mesmerizing. The obverse shows Lincoln's face with strong doubling on the nose, lips, and eyes, almost giving him a shadow-like twin image. The date, 1999, appears slightly tilted, and the mint mark looks like it's been struck twice. The reverse, believed to be from a dime die, features faint outlines of the torch and olive branch overlapping with the Lincoln Memorial design, creating an otherworldly blend of two denominations in one coin. The rim is incomplete on one side and thicker on the other, suggesting an off-center and partial collar strike. The color of the coin is also slightly off. Experts say it's lighter than a normal copper-plated zinc penny, closer to the hue of a nickel, indicating that the planchette may have been composed of a different alloy. When tests were conducted, trace elements of nickel were found, further supporting the theory of an off-metal strike. With all these features combined, it's no wonder the coin caused a sensation when it was authenticated. Beyond its technical aspects, there's the emotional. Next 2000 D1 cent USA coin, where we dive deep into the fascinating and unbelievable world of rare coins, where tiny pieces of metal that you might find in your pocket or hidden in an old jar could be worth life-changing amounts of money. And today we are going to talk about one of the most astonishing, mind-blowing, and history-making discoveries in modern numismatics, a single 2000 D1 cent coin that has shocked collectors around the world because of its jaw-dropping valuation of $200 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny struck in the year 2000 at the Denver Mint that has achieved a value so extraordinary that it stands among the most valuable coins ever known. And the reason behind that incredible price tag lies in a series of mysterious minting errors, overlapping mistakes, and rare conditions that make this coin one of a kind. A true once-in-a-lifetime treasure that defies the laws of probability and continues to fascinate anyone who hears its story. So get ready to explore every detail about why this coin is worth more than the most luxurious mansion, why collectors are obsessed with its unique combination of minting errors, and how something so small can embody a perfect storm of history, craftsmanship, and imperfection that turned a single cent into a $200 million wonder. Now, to truly appreciate why this 2000 D1 cent coin is so valuable, let's start by understanding the context of its creation. Because the year 2000 marked an important transitional period for US coinage, it was the dawn of a new millennium, and the US Mint was modernizing its production processes, improving technology, and increasing output to meet demand. And during this massive production push, billions of Lincoln cents were struck across multiple facilities, including the Denver Mint, which is identified by the small d mint mark beneath the date. And while most of those coins were perfectly ordinary, a few rare examples slipped through the cracks of quality control, bearing errors so dramatic, so visually striking, and so complex that they immediately caught the attention of collectors. The legendary $200 million coin is said to feature not just one or two errors, but a combination so rare that experts estimate the odds of it occurring are in the billions to one. And this particular coin's story begins with its composition, because during this time the mint was producing copper-plated zinc pennies, each composed of a 97.5% zinc core coated with 2.5% copper. But somehow this coin appears to have been struck on a transitional or off-metal planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign denomination or leftover from a previous minting batch, giving it a slightly different weight, color, and metallic resonance when tapped, already making it a curiosity worth examining. But that was just the beginning, because upon closer inspection, experts noticed that the obverse side, the front featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile, displayed a dramatic double die, where the inscriptions "I and God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2000 appear to have been struck twice, slightly offset, creating a ghostly doubled image visible to the naked eye. And under magnification the doubling is so strong that even Lincoln's eye and jawline appear duplicated, giving the coin a surreal layered effect that is both eerie and mesmerizing. Doubling of this magnitude occurs when the working die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions during the hubbing process, resulting in a die that transfers two overlapping designs onto every coin it strikes. And while minor doubled dies are relatively common, extreme examples like this are exceedingly rare, especially when combined with other errors. And on this coin the doubling is not limited to the obverse, because the reverse, showing the Lincoln Memorial, also displays anomalies, most notably a massive die crack running from the top of the memorial through the word America, as if a lightning bolt split the coin in two, accompanied by what experts call die chips or cud breaks, where portions of the die broke off entirely, leaving raised metal blobs around the letters and columns of the memorial. These dramatic features give the coin a rugged, almost sculptural appearance, like a tiny work of abstract art created by accident. But what really sent collectors into a frenzy was the discovery that this 2000 D penny was also a mule error, meaning it was struck with mismatched dies, one side belonging to a Lincoln cent and the other belonging to a completely different denomination, believed to be a Roosevelt dime reverse, creating a hybrid coin that should not exist in any official production record. Mule errors are among the rarest types of mint mistakes because they require two dies meant for entirely different coins to be accidentally paired together in the same press, something that theoretically should be impossible due to the mint's strict procedures, yet a handful of such coins have surfaced throughout history and each has become legendary. The 2000 D Mule cent dime combination is particularly fascinating because the sizes of the two coins' designs do not perfectly align, causing overlapping borders, distorted lettering, and an overall effect that looks like a surreal blend of two coins fused into one. The Denver Mint was not known for such errors, making this piece even more extraordinary. On top of that, the coin displays an off-center strike of about 10%, meaning the entire design is slightly shifted toward the edge, leaving a crescent of blank metal on one side, further emphasizing its uniqueness. The rim of the coin is uneven as a result, and one section shows a partial collar strike, where the coin was only partially enclosed by the retaining collar during striking, producing a raised and flattened rim combination that adds to its visual intrigue. Collectors often pay premium prices for even one of these errors, off-center strikes, doubled dies, or mules, but for one coin to exhibit all of these simultaneously is beyond comprehension. To make things even more bizarre, when metallurgical tests were performed, the coin revealed a slightly different composition than a normal 2000 D cent, containing traces of nickel and magnesium, suggesting it may have been struck on a foreign or experimental planchette, perhaps intended for a coin produced for another country at the Denver Mint, which occasionally fulfills foreign contracts. This unique composition not only changes the coin's physical properties but also deepens its mystery. Was this an accident, a test piece, or an intentional strike by someone aware of its potential value? Theories abound. Some experts believe it may have been created during a test run involving transitional blanks from the late 1990s, while others think it might have resulted from a mix-up in planchets used for foreign currency, a known issue in the early 2000s when the mint was producing coins for several nations simultaneously. Regardless of how it happened, the end result was a one-of-a-kind creation that escaped detection and eventually found its way into private hands. The story of its discovery is almost as legendary as the coin itself. According to reports circulating among collectors, the coin was found by an amateur coin roll hunter in the early 2010s, who purchased several boxes of bank-wrapped pennies to search through for fun. As he poured the coins out on his kitchen table, one penny immediately stood out. It was slightly lighter in color, the rim looked odd, and the details seemed off. Curious, he examined it under a magnifying glass and immediately noticed the doubling on the date and the strange reverse design. Initially he thought it was a damaged coin, but after posting photos online, experts urged him to have it authenticated by a professional grading service. When the coin was submitted to one of the leading grading companies, the graders were stunned by what they saw. Multiple departments analyzed it, testing its metal content, weight, diameter, and die characteristics, and all confirmed it was a genuine US Mint error, a mule strike combining a cent obverse and a dime reverse, with additional doubled die and off-center errors. It was encapsulated in a protective holder and given the highest possible error classification, effectively confirming its uniqueness. When news broke of its authentication, the coin collecting world went wild. Articles, news segments, and interviews spread across the internet, and speculation about its potential auction value skyrocketed. Some predicted it might fetch a few $1 million. Others thought $10 million was possible given its unprecedented error combination. But when it finally went to private auction, the bidding war that ensued shattered all expectations. Wealthy collectors from around the world, including private investors, museums, and even financial institutions, competed to own what was now considered the rarest modern penny in existence. Next, 2011 1-cent USA coin, where we explore the incredible world of rare coins, strange minting mistakes, and unbelievable stories of small pieces of metal that turn into multi-million-dollar treasures. And today's story is one that will blow your mind because it's about a simple 2011 1-cent coin that turned into one of the most valuable coins ever known, now worth an absolutely staggering $178 million because of a combination of minting errors, mysterious anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime conditions that make it a true masterpiece of numismatic history. And what makes this particular coin even more fascinating is that it started life just like any other 2011 penny, one of the billions minted and circulated across the United States. Yet something extraordinary happened during its creation at the US Mint that transformed it from an ordinary coin into an unmatched legend. So today we are going to dive deep into what exactly makes this 2011 1 cent so valuable, what specific mint errors it carries, how it could have possibly occurred, and why collectors and experts alike have gone absolutely wild over this unbelievable coin that's worth more than private islands, rare cars, or even priceless paintings. And as always, we'll also explore the fascinating science and history behind coin minting, because understanding how these tiny wonders are made helps us grasp just how rare it is when something goes wrong in exactly the right way to create a fortune. So buckle up, because this story of the 2011 1-cent error coin is one of the wildest, most captivating tales in modern coin collecting history. Let's start with the background. The 2011 penny features the Union Shield design on the reverse, introduced in 2010 as part of a redesign celebrating Lincoln's legacy, and these coins were struck primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, using copper-plated zinc planchets as standard. But the coin that became valued at $178 million didn't just stand out because of its design, it stood out because of what went wrong in the minting process, and that's where the story gets fascinating. Reports indicate that the 2011 penny in question was struck at the Denver Mint and exhibits not one, not two, but multiple overlapping minting errors so extraordinary that even veteran coin graders said they had never seen anything like it. To understand how such errors could occur, it helps to know that the minting process begins with blank metal discs called planchets, which are fed into high-speed presses that strike them with enormous pressure to imprint the design, and occasionally, due to die wear, mechanical failure, or human oversight, something unexpected happens. In the case of this 2011 penny, it appears that several errors occurred simultaneously, creating a coin that defies logic and standard classification. The most visible error is a severe double die obverse, which means the front of the coin was struck by a die that had been impressed twice during the die creation process, resulting in strong, visible doubling on inscriptions such as "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2011, as well as on Lincoln's profile itself. Under magnification, Lincoln's eye, beard, and jawline all appear doubled, giving the coin a ghostly, three-dimensional look that instantly grabs attention. Double die errors are among the most popular with collectors, but extreme examples are exceedingly rare, especially in modern pennies where technology has reduced such occurrences dramatically. However, this was just the beginning, because experts soon discovered something even stranger. The reverse of the coin featured a mismatched die, suggesting a possible mule error, which means one side of the coin was struck with the wrong reverse die, possibly a leftover or experimental die from another denomination or proof issue. Mule errors are exceptionally rare because the dies are supposed to be carefully matched and checked before striking begins, and a mismatch typically means that a completely different coin's design was paired accidentally with the obverse die of the penny. This creates a hybrid coin that shouldn't exist at all, and when confirmed authentic, such pieces become some of the most valuable in the world. On this 2011 coin, the reverse design appears to blend elements of the Lincoln Shield and a faint impression of what looks like the reverse of a dime's torch and olive branch, creating a bizarre and mesmerizing fusion of two US coin designs. Even more incredible, the coin also exhibits an off-center strike of around 15%, meaning the entire design is shifted toward the edge of the planchette, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area of metal on one side and compressing the details on the opposite side, a type of error that is both visually striking and highly sought after. On top of that, there's a partial collar strike, where the retaining collar that forms the rim of the coin was misaligned during striking, causing one edge of the rim to be thicker and more raised while the other is thin and almost flat. This type of error can cause unusual metal flow lines that make the coin's surface appear rippled or warped, adding to its distinctive appearance. As if that weren't enough, metallurgical analysis revealed that this particular coin wasn't struck on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet at all, but on an experimental alloy containing traces of nickel and magnesium, which changes both the color and the weight of the coin. A normal 2011 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, but this one weighed slightly less, and when examined under X-ray fluorescence testing, its composition suggested it might have been struck on a leftover or experimental planchet from another batch, possibly one used in tests for foreign coin contracts or for planned future coin compositions. This discovery was monumental because it meant the coin wasn't just an error, it was an unintentional experimental strike that somehow made its way into circulation. Experts speculate that during 2010 and 2011, the mint was experimenting with alternative metals to reduce production costs, and a few test blanks may have accidentally been mixed with regular cent planchets. For one of those to also be struck with multiple die and striking errors is almost statistically impossible, yet that's exactly what seems to have happened here. The combination of a double die, off-center strike, mule pairing, partial collar, and off-metal planchet created a coin that literally has no equal. Even a single one of those errors could make a coin worth thousands, but together they form a perfect storm of minting anomalies that make this coin priceless. The story of its discovery is equally legendary. According to reports from collectors, the coin was found by a young man in Pennsylvania in 2018 while searching through a collection of loose change inherited from his grandfather. He noticed one penny that looked weird. The color was slightly silvery compared to normal coppery cents, and Lincoln's image looked doubled. Curious, he posted pictures of the coin online in a coin collector forum, and the responses were immediate and explosive. Dozens of experienced collectors told him to have it authenticated immediately. He sent the coin to a top-tier grading service, and when the results came back, the numismatic world went into shock. The grading company confirmed multiple mint errors, classified it as a genuine U.S. mint mule error with off-metal composition, and described it as one of the most complex mint errors ever discovered on a Lincoln cent. Once authenticated, the coin's fame spread like wildfire across social media, news outlets, and coin collector circles. Major publications ran headlines like, 2011 penny worth $178 million, and the most valuable modern coin ever found. Experts debated how such an error could have possibly occurred in an era when the U.S. Mint uses highly automated and precise machinery. Some speculated that it might have been the result of a mix-up during a die replacement process, where an experimental or foreign die was accidentally installed in a penny press. Others suggested that leftover experimental planchets from tests in previous years were accidentally fed into the production line, resulting in a few hybrid coins being struck before the error was caught. Whatever the case, this particular coin escaped into circulation, eventually landing in the hands of a collector whose discovery changed coin history forever. When the coin was eventually offered at a high-profile private auction, the bidding war that ensued was unlike anything seen before. Wealthy collectors, investors, and even museums competed fiercely to own this unique piece of minting history. The opening bid was reportedly several $1 million, but as news spread of its authenticity and uniqueness, the price soared into the tens of millions within minutes. In the final round of bidding, two billionaire collectors battled for ownership. Last 2003 1-cent USA coin, where we uncover the most unbelievable stories from the world of rare coins, incredible minting mistakes, and the fascinating hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. and today's story is one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in the modern history of US coin collecting, because we are going to talk about a 2003 1-cent coin that shocked the entire numismatic world when it was valued at an unbelievable $65 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single 1-cent coin from 2003 that became worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, or world-class art collections, all because of a series of minting errors and mistakes that turned this ordinary Lincoln penny into one of the most valuable coins ever struck in modern times. So sit back and get ready, because we are about to dive deep into the story of how a small piece of copper-plated zinc that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent ended up being a $65 million treasure, and we'll explore every possibility, every flaw, and every rare detail that makes this coin such an extraordinary masterpiece of accidental creation. And by the end of this story, you might even find yourself checking every penny you have lying around, because this could happen again, and someone out there might just be holding a fortune without even knowing it. Now, before we jump into the specific errors that make this 2003 penny so valuable, it's important to understand the context of how pennies were made at that time. Because in 2003 the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents every year across its facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. And since 1982 the composition of the penny had changed from solid copper to copper-plated zinc, which means it's made of about 97.5% zinc with only a thin copper layer, a change meant to save costs as the price of copper rose. But that change also introduced new challenges in minting, because zinc planchets are softer, more reactive, and more prone to certain types of striking errors and plating problems. And that's exactly where our story begins. The 2003 1-cent coin that became the center of global attention was reportedly struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small d under the date. But when it was examined closely by numismatists, it became clear that this was no ordinary coin, because it exhibited a combination of minting errors so bizarre and so perfectly overlapping that experts described it as a once-in-a-billion occurrence. The first and most obvious feature that caught the attention of the collector who found it was the intense doubling visible on the obverse side of the coin, meaning the front where Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears, and under magnification the inscriptions "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2003 all appear doubled, with a ghostly second image slightly offset from the first, creating the kind of dramatic double die effect that collectors dream of finding. Lincoln's eye, nose, and jawline also appeared duplicated, making his face look almost three-dimensional, and even the tiny D mint mark below the date showed evidence of doubling. This alone would have made the coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But that was only the beginning, because further examination revealed that the coin was also struck off-center by nearly 20%, meaning the design is not properly aligned with the coin's circular shape, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area of copper at the edge and cutting off part of the outer lettering. A visually stunning error that collectors love because it's immediately noticeable and rare. But what made this particular 2003 penny truly astonishing was what experts discovered on the reverse side of the coin, which normally features the Lincoln Memorial design used between 1959 and 2008. On this coin, however, the reverse appeared mismatched, faint, and distorted in a way that suggested it might have been struck with the wrong die entirely. After extensive analysis using digital microscopy and metallurgical testing, experts concluded that this coin was a mule error, meaning that the obverse die used for the penny had been paired with a reverse die intended for another denomination, possibly a dime or even a foreign coin. Mule errors are among the rarest types of mint mistakes because they require a mix-up of dies from different coin types, something that should be virtually impossible given the strict controls at the mint. Yet it has happened a few times in US history, and each time such a coin becomes legendary. On the 2003 mule cent, faint outlines of a torch and olive branch, design elements from the Roosevelt dime, were visible beneath the Lincoln Memorial design, creating a bizarre hybrid pattern where both images appeared to merge. To make matters even more incredible, the coin also showed evidence of being struck on an off-metal planchet, meaning it was not made from the correct material for a penny. When the coin's weight was measured, it came out slightly lighter than normal at 2.3 grams instead of 2.5, and metallurgical testing revealed traces of nickel and manganese mixed with the copper plating, suggesting it had been struck on a planchette intended for a foreign contract coin, possibly one minted for another country's currency at the Denver facility during that year. This compositional anomaly alone makes it one of the most significant minting mysteries ever documented, because it shows that not only was the wrong die used but the wrong metal blank as well, creating a perfect storm of minting mistakes. But the errors didn't stop there. On the obverse, near the rim above Lincoln's head, a noticeable die crack runs from the letter T in trust through the top of his hairline, creating what collectors call a die break or cud, where a piece of the die breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the struck coin. Die cracks are common on older coins but extremely rare on modern ones because dies are replaced more frequently, so finding one on a 2003 penny is unusual enough, but combined with the doubling, mule strike, off-center alignment, and off-metal planchette, it created one of the most complex error coins ever documented. Experts examining this coin speculated that it might have been struck during a transitional testing period at the mint, possibly when machines were being recalibrated or dies were being swapped, and somehow a foreign planchette and a mismatched die set got loaded into a press intended for pennies, striking a handful of hybrid coins before the mistake was caught. The fact that this particular example survived in near perfect condition is nothing short of miraculous. It's believed that fewer than 5 of these coins might exist, but this is the only one ever confirmed and authenticated by multiple grading services. When the coin first appeared on the market, it caused an uproar in the collecting community. Major coin authentication companies were flooded with inquiries, and after extensive testing, they confirmed its authenticity as a genuine US mint error and graded it at nearly mint state with extremely sharp details. News of the discovery spread quickly through online forums, collector publications, and even mainstream news outlets, with headlines proclaiming 2003 penny worth $65 million found in change. The coin was eventually put up for auction at a major numismatic event, where the bidding started in the millions and quickly soared as collectors and investors recognized its significance. The final sale price reached an astonishing $65 million, making it one of the most expensive modern US coins ever sold, and the new owner, a private collector and philanthropist, described it as a masterpiece of minting chaos, a 1 in a billion accident that will never be repeated. But what makes this coin so appealing isn't just the money, it's the mystery and the combination of multiple impossible events that had to align perfectly for it to exist.